Dr. Rajveer Singh, working as Assistant Professor, Physics Department of Atmaram Sanatan Dharma College, University of Delhi. I am here to present my talk titled on the effect of microwave sintering on structure and dielectric properties of strontium bismuth niobate. This is the outline of my talk. First, I will discuss introduction to dielectric ceramics and then classification of the dielectrics and then application of the piezoelectric and the ferroelectric ceramics. Why there is an interest in the lead free ferroelectric ceramics I will discuss, and then I will discuss types of the processing methods and then introduction to microwave techniques and the advantage of the microwave techniques over other synthesis techniques, and in last I will discuss the result of effect of microwave techniques on structural and the dielectric properties of strontium bismuth niobate. So here first I will start from the dielectrics. Dielectrics is an insulating materials. When electric field is applied on the dielectric materials, the electric current does not flow as in metal, but the position of the center of the positive and the negative charge displaced to each other. That means a tiny dipole is created between the inside the dielectrics, and that means there is a polarization is occurred in the dielectric materials, and because of that means total polarization represent, that means the total dipole moment per unit volume is known as the polarization. When the dielectric plays between the conductor of a capacitor, then its capacitance increases by some factor that is known as the dielectric constant. So here C is equal to K C naught. So C naught is the capacitance when there is no dielectric inside the capacitor plates, and then when the dielectric is placed inside the between the conductors of the capacitor, then C is the new capacitance. Then this C is the K times C naught. Here C is equal to C naught is epsilon naught A by D, and this quantity K epsilon naught is known as the epsilon A by D, and this is known as the dielectric constant. Dielectrics are insulator that create electric field that oppose outside E fields. That means when electric field is applied on a dielectrics, there is a field created inside the materials that is known as the E induced electric field, and this induced electric field oppose the applied external field. And this is the representation of the when there is no electric field. When there is no electric field, the dipoles are randomly oriented, and when the electric field is applied, these dipoles are arranged in a specific direction. Suppose the electric field is applied into the positive x direction, then the dipoles are arranged in this direction, and the induced electric field is produced inside the material which oppose the applied external electric field. This is the concept of the dielectrics. And the dielectrics are classified into three parts: piezoelectricity, pyrrhoelectricity, and the ferroelectricity. When pressure is applied on some dielectrics, then the charge is created inside the materials, and the pyrrhoelectricity when a temperature gradient is provided to the materials, then there is a voltage is created in and then ferroelectricity is a special class of the dielectrics or piezoelectrics, in which when there is no electric field is applied, there is some spontaneous polarization exists in the material. That means in the absence of the electric field, there is some spontaneous polarization in the material. So this is the special class of the piezoelectricity, and one point is noted here, that means all the piezoelectric materials are the ferroelectric material, but all the ferroelectric materials are not the piezoelectric and neither pyrrhoelectric materials. So this is piezoelectric effect. Here let us assume that there is a piezoelectric material in itself, and we apply some force, then a charge is produced inside the material, and that means a voltage is created with the application of the force. And in reverse, when we apply some voltage, then there is a change in the dimension of the unit cell. So here we apply some stress, and then we are measuring the voltage. There are two types: the piezoelectric effect, direct piezoelectric effect, and the reverse piezoelectric effect. In the direct piezoelectric effect, we are supplying mechanical strength produced, or that is, we are applying sound vibration. This is a piezoelectric material, and it carries the electrical signal. That is, vibration or sound can generate the electrical signal. And in reverse, when we apply some electrical signal to the piezoelectric material, it can generate the sound vibration. So this is the very important piezoelectric effect, and it is very useful in daily life. And this is the practicals performed in the lab. Here there are two piezoelectric materials, and we are measuring the voltage of, by pressing this piezoelectric material by this clip and this clip, and the voltage is obtained is 3.26. And these are the application of the piezoelectric materials. The top usage of the piezoelectricity in everyday application. Here the printer, mobile phone, and the watch. And here there is a in the bottom of the shoe there is a piezoelectric materials that can generate the voltage, which is useful in the in charging of the battery of the mobile. Here the application of the piezoelectric material in the medical field. So here this is a ultrasound device, transducer cable, acoustic backing here, lead wire, and alternating current into each crystal. So we are supplying here electrical signal, and piezoelectric crystal is here, acoustic phase, this is acoustic force. So that means the piezoelectric materials are very useful in medical field also. The application of the piezoelectric materials in automobile industry. There are so many sensors inside the car that works on the piezoelectric effect. So this is the fuel injects, and here piezo technology increases efficiency and reduces emission, already used in diesel system but with a high potential for a gasoline system. And this is another class of the piezoelectric. Here all ferritic material exhibit piezoelectric effect because lack of symmetry, and they have spontaneous polarization concept. That means in the absence of the electric field they exhibit spontaneous polarization. And this phenomena was discovered by the Walasek in the Rossley salt. And one important feature of this ferriticity, that means the polarization can be changed and even reversed by external electric field. This is the beauty of this type of the materials, and this is the concept of the ferriticity. When there is no electric field applied on the materials, that means the polarization is zero here. That means the dipoles are randomly oriented. Here this dipole is in the direction, and this is in this direction, and the total dipole moment per unit volume is zero. But when the electric field is applied, the dipoles are arranged in the direction of the electric field, and here all the dipoles are aligned in a specific direction, and this point is known as the saturation polarization. And similarly in the reverse direction, this is known as the saturation polarization in the reverse direction. Here this parameter is known as the remnant polarization, because when the electric field is zero, here electric field is zero, that means there is some polarization remains in the materials, that is known the remains and the remnant polarization. And this is the this value of the electric field is known as the corrosive field. That means the amount of electric field required to reduce this polarization to zero is known as the corrosive field. Why I am discussing this figure, because their materials are in demand for which this remnant polarization is very high and this corrosive field is very low. So the materials are in demand for which this energy loss is very less. The energy loss means the energy the area under the curve is known as the energy loss. And these are the different applications of the ferritic ceramics. These are the ferritic random access memory, capacitor, etc. and capacitors. Now the classification of the ferritic materials based on their structure. There are four types of the structures. The hydrogen bonded compound, perovskite compounds, and the tungsten bronze type compound, bismuth oxide layer compounds. In hydrogen bonded compound, the transition temperature is less than 40 degrees centigrade, and the perovskite type structure compounds have transition temperature as like barium titanate has 120 degrees centigrade, lithium niobate 1140 degrees centigrade, and complex type Tc has 175 degrees centigrade. PMNT lead based compound has like 170 around 175 degrees centigrade or 200, and tungsten bronze type compounds has the transition temperature about 560, that is very high transition temperature, and they are useful in laser modulation, periodic detectors, hydrophones, ultrasonic, and these perovskite structure compounds are very useful as a piezoelectric devices, piezoelectric electro-optic devices, and these hydrogen bonded has limited applications such as the weak ferroticity, low Curie point. They have the very low ferroticity, low Curie point, poor mechanical properties. So they are very less useful. And here the fourth class of the structure, the bismuth oxide layer, and they are known as the Aureolus structure and are represented by this formula Bi2O2O2 plus An minus 1 BnO3 n plus 1 2 minus, and here that means there are three sides that is A, B, and the bismuth oxide layer. So there is a advantage of this type of structure, that means we can tailor the properties of this type of structure by modifying this on A side and B side and the bismuth oxide layer, and they are useful in this application, the ferroelectric random access memory, high temperature piezoelectric devices and actuators. And why there is interest in the lead free ferrotic ceramics? As far as the dielectrics, piezoelectric and the ferrotic properties are concerned, lead based ceramics are the excellent candidate for these requirements till date, and the lead based materials have low transition temperature, which limits their use in the high temperature applications. And there is another problems of the lead based ceramics, that is the recycling and disposal of the devices containing lead is environmentally harmful. So there is a need for alternating materials for environmental protection and the fulfillment with the latest industrial regulations. In the search of such materials has stimulated a lot of interest in lead free bismuth layer structure ferrotic ceramics. They are represented by the BLSF. Bismuth layer structure compounds belonging to the Aureolus family of the ceramics. They are the dielectrics, ferroelectric, and the piezoelectric properties. They continue to attract a lot of attention for applications of piezo sensors which operate at the high temperature because of their high Curie temperature, and they are useful in non-volatile ferroelectric random access memory, and because of high Curie temperature and excellent fatigue properties. Moreover, they are eco-friendly in nature and replacing harmful lead-based ferroelectrics. So this is the comparison of the lead based and the lead free ceramics. So here we are applying the same electric field 2 kilovolt per mm. Here 2 kilovolt per mm, and this is the lead based, this is lanthanum doped PZT, and this is the combination of 53 and 47, 53.5, 46.5. So here PZT, that is the ratio of the lead and the zirconium is 53:47, and 53.5 and 46. This is the ratio of the lead and the zirconium, and this is the lithium and antimony doped KNN. So here when we increasing the temperature from this room temperature to around 150, that means there is a change of 33% in the D3 value. D3 is the piezoelectric coefficient. That means here we are applying force in the z direction and measuring the charge in the or voltage in the z direction, and this is here when the temperature is increased from room temperature, then this is increasing and attains a maxima, and then it is decreasing. Here it is noticed that the maxima and the minima, the change in the minima and the maxima is 160%, while in the case of the this lead, the change in D33 is 33% only. And here this is the thermal behavior of the this D33 for the SBT. SBT is strontium bismuth tantalate, and this is the erbium doped, and this is pure SBT. So here it was noticed that the D33 is almost constant up to this temperature 400, and 400 this is the transition temperature of this compound. After 400 the D33 value start to decrease. That means up to this up to 400 degree centigrade temperature, the material is ferritic and the piezoelectric, and after this temperature the materials become the periodic. That means the piezoelectricity is destroyed after this temperature. But in case of the PGT, this D33 value is not constant up to till higher temperature. That means this type of material can be used for high temperature piezoelectric devices that can operate from room temperature to 400 degree centigrade. This is the normalized remnant polarization for PGT and the SBT. So here x is equal to 0. That means when the this is the switching cycles. That means the remnant polarization PR is constant till 10 power 3, but after 10 power 3 the remnant polarization start to decrease. But for the SBT it is almost constant. That means there is no change, that means there is no reduction in the polarization after a 10 power 6 till 10 power 6. But in case of the PZT it is decreasing. So this is the disadvantage of the lead based ceramics, and this is the normalized corrosive field with the switching cycles. Here PZT the corrosive field is almost constant up to 10 power 5, and when the switching cycle is increased beyond 10 power 5 it is increasing. That is corrosive field increasing and the remnant polarization is decreasing. That this is the disadvantage of the lead based compound. But for the bismuth layer oxide compounds, the corrosive field and the remnant polarization is constant. These are the three parameters for any devices. That means the D33 is constant for the bismuth oxide layer, but for the lead based compound it is not constant. This represents the thermal behavior of the device that can be operated at very high temperature, and these two graphs represent, that means the bismuth oxide layers compounds are better than the lead based compounds. This is the structure of the VLSF compounds. Here n is equal to 2 means the two perovskite layer are sandwiched between the bismuth oxide layers. This is the bismuth oxide layer and this is bismuth oxide layer, and here two BO6 octahedra are present. This is the comparison of the PB based and the bismuth layer materials. Here it is noticed that when the value of N in the bismuth oxide in the bismuth layer compounds is increasing, the transition temperature is increasing, but there is no significant increase in the D33 value. That means the bismuth oxide layer compounds have low value of the D33, but the lead based compounds have very high piezoelectric coefficient and high remnant polarization. So here these are the some compounds, and it is also noticed that the niobium based compounds have the higher value of the transition temperatures. So here suppose Bi3Ti NBO9 it is 940, here SrBi2 NB209 it is 440, but in case of SrBi2 Ta209 the transition temperature decreases around 100 degree centigrade. That means niobium based compounds have higher transition temperature. This is the synthesis techniques. There are so many synthesis techniques, and they are divided into two main parts: mechanical method and the chemical methods. And every method has own advantage and the disadvantages. The advantage of the chemical methods are high purity, small particle size, and the chemical homogeneity. And the disadvantage of these chemical methods are expensive raw materials, poor for non-excite, limited applicability, more time consumption, and the complex reaction procedure. And but in case of the ball milling process of solid state reaction method, the precursors are very cheap, and for the large production of these compounds, this method was considered as the best methods. And this is the procedure of the solid state reaction method. In this method, first we take the raw materials according to the composition, and then mechanical mixing by ball milling, and then calcination at higher temperature around 700 to 900 depends upon the materials, and then mixed with PBA. PBA is the binder, and then pellet formation, and then sintering. And sintering can be done by different techniques. Here I will discuss the different types of sintering, such as the microwave sintering, conventional sintering. And sintering, what is the sintering? Sintering, and this is the before sintering procedure. This is the grains. In sintering we are densing the materials. So how to dense the materials? By the process of sintering. So here they are the 4 grains, and this is the post before sintering. That is, this is the grains after calcination, and then this material is put in the furnace, and the temperature is increased. That means sintering process was started, and this pore size was start to decrease here, and this grains becomes larger. That is, this grains becomes larger, and the pore size decreases. And after sintering, this pore size becomes very small, and the grain size becomes very large. This is the concept of the sintering. So what are the factors which affect the sintering? That is the temperature at which you are sintering the materials, time duration for so 3 hours, 4 hours, it plays role in the sintering. And grain density, uniformity of the grain density, atmosphere, in which atmosphere you are sintering the materials, impurities, and the size distribution, the particle size. These are the factors which affect the sintering. Types of the sintering, there are many types of the sintering: conventional sintering, microwave sintering, spark plasma sintering, hot press sintering. So here I will discuss conventional sintering and the microwave sinterings. So here this is the concept of the conventional sintering and the microwave sintering. The basic difference between the conventional and the microwave sintering is only that in case of the conventional sintering, the heating from the outside, but in case of the microwave sintering, heating from the inner to outer. That means here outer part, in the conventional sintering, the outer part is very hot, but the inner part is very cold. That means by conventional sintering, the material cannot be fully densified, but in case of the microwave sintering, this inner part is very hot and the outer part is cold. That means we can densify the material by this process. And suppose we got a materials by conventional sintering like this, and this is microwave sinter sample. That if we did both types of the sintering, first I did the conventional sintering and then microwave sintering, then we get the final product like this. That means by using both process, we can get more dense structure materials. So this is the micro sintering done at the University of Delhi, Department of Physics. So this is the microwave here, and this is the microwave cavity, and this is here. There is a sample inside here, and this is thermal insulation, and here this black color, that is silicon carbide susceptor. So here to microwave from the magnetron is supplied at the 700 watt 2.4 gigahertz, and this is the crucible here. So this is the picture of the microwave sintering, and here this is the temperature versus the time profile. Here this red part shows the conventional sintering. So here the total time for this conventional sintering is about 170 minutes for sintering the temperature at around 510, but the time required to sinter the materials at 650 degrees centigrade is only 25 minutes in case of the microwave sintering. That means there is a huge saving in the energy by microwave sintering. That means we can save the energy, electrical energy, and we can sinter at a very high temperature in less time. So this is the density versus temperature. When the temperature increases, the density also increases in conventional and the microwave sintering. But in case of the microwave sintering, the rate of increase of the density is very high as compared to conventional sintering. This is the sintering process of the powder particle by microwave energy. Here these are the pores, initial heating of the particles, and then heat. These pores are melted, and the pore size melt, and then this pores becomes very small after the microwave sintered samples. So this is the porosity graph. Here pore size is very large, but in case this figure the pore size is very small. That means porosity is decreasing in both cases, microwave conventional sintering, but in case of the micro sintering, the porosity is very small as compared to the conventional sintering. Now I will discuss the my experimental work performed at the Department of Physics, University of Delhi. Effect of the microwave sintering on structure and dielectric properties of SR deficient strontium bismuth niobate ferritic ceramics. So this is the time profile, temperature time profile of the conventional and the microwave sintering. Here this first column represent the conventional sintering. Here the reaction total time. This represent the total time, and this is the reaction time. So here total, that means around 13 hours are required for the complete process in the conventional sintering. But in case of the microwave sintering, the only 2 hours are required for the complete process, and the for reaction time in the there is very small reaction time in case of the microwave sintering, approximately half an hour, and relatively low temperature. That is same properties can be obtained at lower temperature but for a less time. This is the comparison of the solid state reaction method and the microwave reactive sintering method. In microwave sintering method, the heat is generated internally within the material and fine and uniform microstructure, control grain growth, improve product yield, higher densification, rapid heating, energy and time saving. And here low sinter density, longer soaking time duration, and the heat is generated externally from the material. This is the basic difference between the microwave sintering and the solid state reaction, conventional sintering. This is the XRD pattern of the SRBI to NBO9 of the conventional sintering and the microwave sintering, and there is no significant change in the crystal structure of the compound, but there is a the peak 115 is slightly shifted towards the higher angle. It indicates that means there is a the unit cell is shrink. That means the unit cell volume decreased. This is the parameters obtained by the foolproof software. This is CSSBN sintered at the 1100 degree centigrade, and this is the microwave sinter sample sintered at the 1000 degree centigrade. Total cycle time for the conventional is 3 hours, but for the microwave sintering it is only half an hour. The lattice volume for microwave is slightly decreased. Here it is noted that the volume lattice volume 753.287 for the conventional sintering, but for the microwave sintering is 746.65. That is lattice volume is decreased, and there is a huge change in the experimental density 7.48 to 7.60, and it is about 98.99 density, and porosity is only 0.39. That means the microwave sintering is very beneficial to to get the high dense materials. This is the microstructure of the CSCSBN, that the conventional sintering and the microwave sintering. Here clearly grain boundary are observed in both cases, but in case of the microwave sintering, the rapid heating microwave sintering provide to avoid the undesired grain growth, leading to grow uniform the dense structure. And this is the their grain size is increased in case of the microwave sintered samples, and the density is increased from the 7.48 to 7.60. This is the variation of the dielectric constant and the dielectric loss with temperature. The transition temperature is increased from 440 degree centigrade to 450 degree centigrade in case of the microwave sinter sample, and the dielectric constant is also increased, and the loss for the both cases is almost constant, almost same. And this is the investigation of the Curie-Weiss law, and both materials follow the Curie-Weiss law. Here TC, this represents the TC transition temperature is 713, and here 720. It is the minimum of the this 1 by epsilon naught represent the transition temperature, and here T naught by determined by extrapolating this graph, and it was found 677 Kelvin for the CS SBN, and for the microwaves Sinter SBN it is 687, and the value of the T naught in both cases is lower than TC. It represents the transition is of the first order. If this T naught is greater than this TC, then the phase transition is of the second order. And this is the modified Curie-Weiss law. Here the diffusivity gamma was calculated with this from the slope of this graph, and it was found 0.99 at 10 kilohertz, but in case of the microwave sinter 1.13. It represents, that means the value of 0.99 represent it is a normal ferroelectric ceramics, but the value of the gamma is greater than 1, represent that means it is slightly diffuse materials. This is the graph between the dielectric constant with the frequency, and this graph represents the dielectric dispersion, and it is observed that the dielectric constant is decreasing with increasing frequency, and it is clearly observed, that means there is a dispersion. The dispersion at low frequency is very large as compared to high frequency, because at high frequency the dipoles are not able to vibrate, or are not able to move from one side to another side. Here they are easily moved from one side to another side. So here microwave sinter, and it is also noticed that the dispersion in the imaginary part of the dielectric constant is larger or strong as compared to the real part of the dielectric constant. And this type of the behavior is on the low frequency dielectric dispersion, which is the characteristics of the VLSF materials. This is the graph of the AC conductivity with frequency. That means the AC at different temperature, the AC conductivity is increases with increase in the frequency, and this the increase in the frequency is followed by this Johnson power law, sigma AC is equal to sigma DC plus A omega power S. Here A is the prefactor that depends upon the temperature and the composition and determine the polarizability, and S is the dimensionless frequency exponent, and it determines the interaction between the mobile ion and the lattice around them. The minimum value of the S represents the maximum interaction, and the maximum value of the S represents there is very less interaction between the mobile charge carriers. So here the low frequency part of the AC conductivity is known as the sigma DC, that means plateau region. This is known as the plateau region, and the graph was fitted using this Johnson power law, and the value of the A and S was determined using the fitting parameters. So here this is the ST for the conventional centrum SBN. The value of the ST was found to decrease with increasing temperature, and it attains a minima at value around 450 degrees centigrade, which is the transition temperature of this compound. It shows 450 because there is no point of the 440. So we took the values of 425, 450 and 500 and 550 and so on. So here 440 is not mentioned because of this represents the 450, and after this temperature this value is again increasing. That means the minimum value of the ST is represent, that means the maximum interaction between the mobile charge carriers, and this blue part is known shows the this A that shows the polarizability of the materials, and when the temperature is increasing, this polarizability is also increasing and it attains maxima at the transition temperature and then it decreases. And the same graph was obtained for the microwave sintering. And it is also noticed in these two graphs that the increase in the this A factor was greatly influenced by this microwave sintering. That means the change in the microwave sintering is very large as compared to this conventional sintering. And this is the AC conductivity ability to use graph Arrhenius plot of the AC conductivity. Here the lower part, the AC conductivity is almost constant, and this part represents the phase transition, and here is the high temperature AC conductivity. Here the slope is very less, but this is the phase transition, and the activation energy was calculated by fitting this equation by sigma AC is equal to sigma naught exponent minus EA by kBT. Kb is the Boltzmann constant, and then we get the activation energy is around 1.05 electron volt, which is the energy for the excitation energy of oxygen vacancies. And in case of the microwave sintering, the activation energy was found around 1.57 electron volt. And this is the Arrhenius law of the DC conductivity, and this graph was divided into three parts: region 1, region 2, region 3. In region 1, the AC conductivity is almost constant, and it is the conduction in the lower temperature range is due to the extrinsic impurity with similar activation energy, and the region 2 depends on the phase transition, and the region 3 conduction is due to the intrinsic defects, that is oxygen vacancies. And the activation energy was found around 1.3 electron volt, and in this case the activation energy was found 1.91 electron volt. And here the DC conductivity was calculated using the AC conductivity by extrapolating the graphs. And this is the conclusion of my talk. That means the conclusion, the density of the materials was increased by microwave sintering to 98.900, and the temperature was decreased by 100 degrees centigrade, and the most important the shorter duration. That means the same parameter that is the dielectric and the dielectric and the piezoelectric properties are enhanced by using the microwave sintering for a less shorter duration, that is only half an hour. And the piezoelectric coefficient for this compound by microwave sintering was achieved 26 picocoulomb per Newton, and for the conventional sintering it is around 20. That means the piezoelectric coefficient is increased by 6. Now the microwave sintering, reactive sintering is very superior to obtain dense in less soaking time at relatively low temperature as compared to conventional sintering, and it is very simple to handle, fast and quite general for the synthesis of the technologically important electroceramics, because one can sinter at relatively low temperature in shorter duration time, which leads to considerable energy saving. This is the most important part for the large production of the ceramic compounds by using microwave sinterings. In last, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Dr. R.B. Tandon, Department of Physics and Astrophysics, University of Delhi, and Dr. Vandana Luthra, Associate Professor, Physics Department, Gargi College, University of Delhi. Thank you.